welcome. We certainly got off to a just great start yesterday. It was so good hearing the students speak in their own voice and their own words about what their educational experience is like and what we can do to make their education even more meaningful. That's just a wonderful way to start out the summit. I want to thank all of those on my staff who worked with the Center for Digital Education, Alan Cox, and his people in putting together again a very a wonderful event. And the best is yet to come. Today, we're going to hear from our secretary. I'm looking forward to his message. So just welcome and thank all of you here. Thank all of you who came. I'm going to make a few other comments a little bit later in the process of bringing our secretary to us. I'll make a few preliminary comments, but I'm going to take executive privilege right now and bring up our Deputy Commissioner of the Technical College System of Georgia and ask her to bring her remarks, and then I'll come back and make a few more comments after Alan brings a few remarks as well. So, Commissioner, come up, please.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, I'm shorter, a little bit shorter. It's great to be here at Georgia Piedmont Technical College for the second annual Southern K-14 Education Summit. On behalf of Commissioner Ron Jackson, who is partially coming into the office for a couple of days this week and expects to be back, I always say on campus because I've worked most of my life on college campuses, but back in the office by the end of the month. As most of you know, he suffered a heart attack in August and has been recuperating and is doing extremely well. And we're very pleased to see that he's back, but he certainly is not quite out yet, but he will be soon. I extend to you a warm welcome on his behalf as you prepare to continue the robust discussions that it sounds like that were begun yesterday. I want to thank Dr. Simama for inviting me here and for his stewardship and vision of what he's doing here at Georgia Piedmont. I would also like to thank Dr. Page for agreeing to serve as the keynote speaker. Of course, as a career educator and a former U.S. Secretary of Education, Dr. Page brings a wealth of knowledge to this summit. His passion for educating young people and some of the discussion that I heard at breakfast this morning shows that that's boundless, and I'm certain that you will find his remarks inspirational and motivational. Additionally, I must thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. I'm confident that you will find the upcoming keynote and the sessions, the panel discussions, to be stimulating. The timeliness of this candid conversation about the role of technology, pedagogy, and partnerships in creating a new K-14 educational paradigm is just totally appropriate given the continuous changes and improvements that we are trying to make in teaching and learning. It is just fascinating to me to know that the focus of this session today, and I wish I could stay, is going to be on closing the achievement gap between minority and majority students. This gap, as you well know, is the civil rights issue of our times. Our goal in TCSG is to help all students chase and achieve their dreams. Technical and community colleges and K-12 organizations have long sought to provide better pathways for high school students to achieve success beyond their post-secondary education. As you well know, the jobs of the future, over 60% of them will require some post-secondary education. It may not require a four-year degree, but some post-secondary education will be required. And I sincerely hope that you will leave this summit renewed and with new tools and new resources with which to provide your task of going back and helping to have our students achieve their dreams of success. Again, on behalf of the Technical College System of Georgia, I welcome you to the second annual Southern K-14 Education Summit. Have a fabulous and productive day.
Well, good morning again. My name is Alan Cox. I met some of you yesterday. I'm the Senior Vice President for the Center for Digital Education. Very proud to be working with the system and with Dr. Simama and his team in the production of this event. I was recently at our adopted community college in California that's in the city of Folsom, where our corporate offices are, meeting with the president. This is Folsom Lake College. And I had an opportunity, as we did yesterday, to meet with some of the students who told their stories and reiterated time and time again the importance of the link between K-12 and higher ed, and the importance of community colleges in terms of the future of the United States. It's not lost on me that one of the driving factors of us getting out of a recession was citizens going back to college, and primarily in the community and technical colleges throughout the entire country. They've started going back to work now. Obviously, enrollment has gone down a little bit nationally in community colleges, but that's what we expected to have happen, and it was an economic engine that helped launch us again into a prosperous economy. So from our point of view at the Center for Digital Education, we take this very seriously. It's an important task to see a strong link between K-12 and higher ed, and we really see community colleges for decades to come being the driving force of changing our economic future, changing the lives of our citizens. So we're really proud to be part of this event. And again, I wanted to thank Dr. Simama for inviting us to participate, and then turn the podium back over to him.
Thank you, Alan, and also thank you. Travel safely, please. There are a couple other people I want to acknowledge before I make just a few prepared remarks. As always, I want to introduce and acknowledge my wonderful wife, Nisha Simama, who has been a long-time educator herself. She's the multicultural coordinator at Padilla School, not far from here in DeKalb County. I want to acknowledge Val Bates, who is the chairman of our board of trustees and over our foundation. We're very happy he could be with us this morning. I want to introduce and acknowledge the good work of Tim Melvin, who is a member of he's a member of our board of directors, and he's also an administrator with the Georgia Cyber Academy, and will be presenting in one of the breakout sessions this morning. Want to introduce and thank council members Joe Gabbia, who represents District 4 in Brookhaven, and Bates Morrison, who represents District 3 in Brookhaven. When you have city council members interested in education, it doesn't get any better than that. So thank you all for being here, and we look forward to your participation and contributions. By the way, there is a table up to my right that's just waiting for someone to sit. So please have no one outside, no one thinking that we don't have room for them. We have room for everyone. The table at our right. Neil Shorthouse is a longtime friend. And he actually said, I think he said I was a 40-year friend of his at one point. And he met me when I was 5 or 6 years old. But a very, very long time friend. Neil and I first worked together in an organization called Young Life. And then Neil has gone on to great things here in Atlanta, including his last position as president of communities in the school for the state of Georgia. And he was also one of the co-founders, along with Neil Shorthouse and Dave Lewis, maybe? Bill Milliken. What did I call him? Bill Shorthouse? Your cousin. Bill Milliken. Is Milliken, by the way, still with Communities in School? So he's not retired. You just retired. Okay. Well, you think this is a dialogue? We can just talk about this here and Dr. Lonnie Edwards, who is a former superintendent of Jackson Public Schools in Jackson, Mississippi, and also, I believe, a deputy superintendent here in the CAB public school system. So thank you, Lonnie, for being here, and thank you for being such a friend of the college. And I like the boots you had on last night, too, almost as much as the secretaries. Last but not least, before I just make a few comments, I want to thank our sponsors. They're all in the program, but I think it's important for me to acknowledge them by name and to invite you that whenever we have a break, go out to their tables, talk to them about what they're doing, find out what solutions they offer educators. These are really good people because they affiliate themselves with good events such as this, and they allow us to be able to have an event like this and to keep our registration fees and other expenses at the very, very bare minimum. But DeVry University, a great friend and partner of the technical college system, as well as our partner, Georgia Power. You'll be hearing more from Sadie Denard, who is the chair of our board of directors, but also external affairs manager at Georgia Power, just a good corporate citizen, and certainly they've been good to this event and good to our college. Women in Technology, T-Mobile, Florida Virtual School, Jackson Pierce, AdCap Network Systems, and Cisco. And I believe I have named all of the sponsors. If I've left any sponsors out, please let me know now. If I left off any elected officials, would you please stand now and be recognized? Again, you're on my staff, so we appreciate your service to the school board in Rockdale County, but you're ours first. So, still an elected official. I just want to make a couple comments in sort of setting this morning into focus because I, for a long time, have felt like education is a civil rights issue. I know my own personal story, growing up poor, raised by a single parent, born and raised in the projects of Missouri, which had Jim Crow laws, just like in the Deep South. And I know for sure that were it not for education, there's no telling where my life would be. A lot of my homies are dead now. Some of the people I grew up with were incarcerated at some point within their lives. It is almost a miracle that in a generation in this country that one could go from the kind of poverty that I experienced to middle class and upper middle class life and to be a president of a fine college like this. But my story is not the story of every African American male. It's not the story of every child born in this country. But I truly believe that for most Americans, education will always be the foundation upon which everything else will be built. According to the College Board, the median income for those with a high school diploma is $49,000. However, those with an associate degree is $66,000, $66,680 to be precise. For those with less than a high school diploma, it's $29,537. Let's look at these numbers again for a minute. If you drop out of high school, it's $29,537, medium income. If you get a high school diploma, it's $20,000 more. If you get an associate's degree, it's almost $20,000 more than that. Medium income for those with a 2-year degree is approximately $37,000 more than those who drop out of high school. How can we let any of our students drop out of high school with all of this at stake? College-educated Americans, which most of you know, have better access to health care. Better access to health care impacts how long we live. Education has the potential to expand our worldviews and to provide a more global perspective. You know, it's interesting. When I started going to college, I'd go home and my homies would say stuff like, well, you act different. You don't act the same. You act like you stuck up. You act like you're not like us again. And like you're not like us anymore. And I would say to myself, well, I hope that if I'm in college and I'm learning something and I'm applying myself and my worldview is expanding, I hope my horizon has been broadened a little more than if I had not gone to college. Those who drop out of high school are far more likely to be entangled in the criminal justice system. I mentioned that earlier. Some in my own family. And you're probably aware that it costs more to incarcerate a young person than it does to educate a young person. Look at these numbers just for a second. According to research gathered in 2011 from the U.S. Department of Education, lawmakers spend approximately $18,000 a year to house one inmate in state prison. $18,000 a year to house one inmate in state prison. But according to the National Education Association, it costs about 1/3 that amount to educate a child attending the public school system. Here at our college, it costs less than $2,000 a semester for a full-time student to enroll, to buy books, and to pay all fees. And it is clear that the right to education, quality education, is related to our basic right of freedom. But most importantly, education as it relates to civil rights to me is not merely a wedge against unjust societal institutions or a question of the achievement gap, but moreover, education at its best should make us more aware of ourselves and the higher purposes for which we were put here in the first place. At least I can say that about myself. Now, historically, racism and prejudice denied many Americans of their dignity as human beings. We all know it was illegal for African Americans to read, write, and major efforts were made to separate blacks from anything positive about their history and culture. We talked about the role of cultural breakfast this morning with the secretary. The deep scar that it left was slow to heal physiologically, but psychologically, the scar tissue may have not completely healed even until today. So therefore, I believe that all efforts to solve the problem of educational inequity must take into account the need to deal with the psychology of the learner and the spirit of the learner. What are our expectations of a student's ability to learn from certain communities? We should ask ourselves that as educators. What are our expectations? What does the lack of resources or investment in certain neighborhoods say to the learner about his or her worth as an individual? And above all, what ways do we intentionally and unintentionally say to learners who achieve against the odds? People like myself, what do we say unintentionally to those who achieve against the odds? That their contributions are only welcome if they are willing to check their culture and their unique sensibilities at the door. If they're willing to wear, as Du Bois said, the veil, or to be the spook who sat by the door and sees no evil, hears no evil, and speaks no evil. As educators today, if we are to be relevant, we must be disruptive. We must be transformational. We must create a new paradigm, which is the purposes of this conference, to discuss and to debate the need for a new paradigm for education that will challenge the status quo. And the goal is to make education, I believe, a tool for the liberation of both the individual as well as the community. I think, my friends, that the 60th anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education decision is a reminder to all of us that there is still much work to do and to be done in fulfilling the promise of that court decision. I'm very excited about what we're about to hear this morning. I'm very excited about all of you who are going to be with us. I ask you to be fully engaged in all of the discussions. Be prepared to raise questions, make comments, share your contributions. We will reserve ample time after every presentation, including the secretaries, to allow time for your participation. So now I'd like to call to the stage Sadie Denard, who's already been introduced, who is the chairperson of our board of directors, and she will formally introduce and bring to you the 7th U.S. Secretary of Education, Dr. Rod Page.